Hey there folks, I'm Bryce, he's Ben, and we want to talk to you today about the number one mistake homeowners make when they're turning their home into an investment property. Now Ben, how many times have we gone down the path where someone's worked out this mistake and you can see the blood drop out of their face and they go, oh, if only I knew that probably 20 years earlier,
correct,
would have made a big difference. So
it would have made a big difference in my situation. I got the wrong advice and made all the mistakes that we're going to be sharing with you here. And I mean, these days, property is about getting up that property ladder, right? So the first home you're buying usually isn't your dream home. It is a step on the ladder. So if you're going to upsize from there, what are you going to do with that original property? And we're going to teach you some of the things you need to, the solutions that you need to do as part of setting up your finances so you get the best bang for buck.
So let's set this up. Now, the mistake that you make is an honest mistake. And I'll tell you why it's an honest mistake, because when we grew up, our parents, we're Gen X, if you're a baby boomer, part of the builder generation, what did they say? They said, don't get into debt, and if you do, pay off the debt as quickly as you possibly can. So as good students of the elders that have come before us, Ben, what did we do? We got a loan and we paid it off as quickly as we possibly could.
So here's our property, okay, and there's our debt, and so that's going to amortise over time. So that's us paying that debt over time, isn't it, Bryce?
It is.
Yep. But we also have equity here too, so we'll set that up for the next stage.
So folks, your parents say buy a home, get a loan, get rid of it as quickly as you can, get to the end of the journey and you have a fully paid off loan. And that's not a bad plan, folks, because home ownership in this country, it's the great Australian dream. It's not a bad idea to aspire to be under home ownership. But what we're going to suggest to you is there might be an updated model to the model that's been passed on to you.
An improved solution.
Through the generations. But here's the typical scenario. I have my house, and I actually want to go from having one property in the portfolio to actually having two with an investment property. So typically,
keep that one.
So here's where the mistake starts to amplify and magnify itself, because if you followed this plan here, you will have paid off the debt. Now, what typically happens is the way that you turn your own home into an investment property is really simple. All you do is start advertising for rent. You actually don't have to have a tenant. At the moment that you start advertising for rent, that's when it becomes an investment property. Ben, there's no form to fill in.
Correct.
There's no checkbox that you've got to tick. Often people say, what do you got to do?
Pick your property manager.
Yep.
They'll advertise it for you. They'll select hopefully the best tenant for you.
Now Ben, but what is the problem here is, what if I actually have zero debt here? What if I've actually followed the 101 model that was passed on to us from prior generations? What if we've done that and I've got that down to zero, and then let's just say our home is worth $700,000, Ben, and the investment property that we want to buy is worth $600,000. Now, zero debt, and we're about to go into...
Or we're upsizing. Can we make that? So we're going to upsize that, right? So make that 900. Make that 900 for us.
All right.
So make that 900.
All right. So we'll make this 900. You go from 700 to 900. So here's the challenge.
So in theory, what's happened is, because we've got this debt level down to zero, we are now going to have rent that's coming in, and that rent is going to be positive, which means that we have to pay tax on that. Right. So what if instead of paying that down, Bryce, we did something which is better in terms of how we set our lending up? So if this is our home loan, so there's our home loan there, and we've been chipping away at that, as you were just talking about, Bryce, and we basically got that down to zero. Why is it that this original owner-occupied property now is going to be turned into an investment, and this is going to be our new owner-occupied? So we're going to have all of our debt as owner-occupied debt. So what we would have been better off doing...
That is the problem.
...is... I'll just grab some...
So just for clarity, folks, the reason that's a problem is because you've now wanting to maximise tax deductible debt when it becomes an investment property, but for an owner-occupier, that's not tax deductible debt. So what you've effectively done is change the equation to be the wrong scenario.
So let's introduce this little transactional account that we call offset. So this is a mortgage offset account, and instead of putting all of that money in here, instead we started off putting it here, and then we started building it up And so every dollar that's in here still saves us on the interest that we pay on the home loan. So and then we get it to that net position where it's still zero. But what happens is it's never been into the loan, okay? So that loan account still remains available to us. So what we do is package that money up. So we grab all of that money and then we move it onto our new home loan over here. And that home loan is for this property. And that now means that we're going to have a lower home loan because we've grabbed all of that. And if this is our final dream home, if it's the final dream home, then you can pay it into the loan if you want to and have a smaller loan balance, okay? But if it's number 2 of a bigger dream and you want, just rinse and repeat over here. So we're paying that down, and that means that that loan is still available now, and that loan remains deductible.
So let's have a look at that as a comparison, because Ben makes a very good point. So under one scenario, what you're doing is you're reducing the principal on the loan. Mm-hmm. So that's that first time-tested principle that your parents passed on to you. What we're suggesting is an alternative. Instead of reducing the principal, you're going to build up dollars in offset, and the principal remains untouched. Now, the reason that you want to do this scenario is if you're an investment builder versus just going to have your owner occupier. The reason you do that is because, as Ben said, you can pick up the cash and park it next to, in this case, if you had a loan, you can park it next to there, or as Ben said, you can put it into the loan. And because what's very, very key in this argument, Ben, is the purpose.
Correct.
You have to understand the purpose, because here's the mistake that the homeowners make. They go, I am going to buy this house, but I'm going to get the debt against the investment property, so therefore shouldn't the debt be tax deductible because it's secured against the property that's the investment?
No, it's not.
No deal, folks. That's the problem, because the purpose. Because if the ATO comes and audits this scenario, Ben, they're going to say, what was the purpose of the loan in the first place? And your answer is going to be, if you are going to tell the truth, which we 100% suggest you do, is the purpose was for a private purpose, which was to put shelter, a roof over our head, whereas you wanted to actually have the purpose of the loan being for investment. Now, you don't have the decision to change that. You do not have the decision. But under this scenario that we're proposing, if you were to build up offset, this loan would remain untouched. You wouldn't be paying the principal back. So when you actually advertised, moved out, move into your own home, this one here, all you would have done is move the money over, and this loan has not changed. Therefore, the purpose of this loan is for that property. Therefore, the purpose is now tax deductible.
Bryce, I think you summarised the point, and that is this type of lending structure gives you the option, okay? Not doing that and paying that down, but redrawing it against the equity in that property, no deal. It means that the purpose of that money was to secure your new owner-occupied home, your new principal place of residence potentially, and so that means non-deductible. But by setting up this structure here, if you choose never to get that next property, you're still in a position where you're in control of liquidity. So from our point of view, it's about structuring the right way to give you that choice into the future. And the same thing if we did the same thing over here, where we set up a new mortgage offset, because even though this is going to be your home for the next 5 years or so, it still may not be that dream home. So we rinse and repeat, and we set exactly the same thing up and we build that up, because one day that might be investment property number 2, because you've just turned this into investment property number 1. Now, more broadly speaking, why would you do this? Well, it's clear how and why you would do it is because you've got an asset. That asset's going to grow in value over time. Even if you do have some debt against it, if you've held it for a reasonable period of time, you might actually find that the cash flow is neutral on that property. So it doesn't even cost you anything to actually hold it. So why not do that? And then over time you will pay that debt.
Ben, it could be an amazing townhouse in an amazing location that you just outgrew and you needed more space, but it's still in a really great investment grade location.
And 20, 30 years time from now, it's going to be worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars. So from that point of view, it sets you up. And then over the long term, as you build out wealth, we do want to retire all the debt. We don't want to just keep building debts up. We get that debt paid off and we live off the passive income. So that is 101 property investing in terms of getting the knowledge right, getting your solutions where they need to be, understanding the problem with doing it the wrong way, and then implementing the right strategies and tactics to give you that choice into the future.
Well said, mate. So the reason it is the number one mistake is this, folks. If you just understand everything we've just gone through, the reason it's the number one mistake is because when you realise you've made it, you probably do not have a lot of time left to correct it. Because, as we said before, paying off this debt or building up this offset, that doesn't happen overnight.
No.
That's over a whole accumulation journey. So when you go, oh, if I had have made that decision 20 years ago, I'd have been in a much more powerful position. So the reason you need to know it now is because you need to make a decision now. You need to talk to an investment savvy mortgage broker who understands this so that you can actually be one of the folks that do not make this number one mistake. Now, Ben, we're going to, we've got a whole range of
There's
sins.
more to this story as well. There's more to this story that we're going to share on the webinar as well.
Yes.
So,
good segue, because we have got a webinar coming up this Thursday, folks. It is Thursday the 3rd. Where we're going to cover the 7 deadly sins of building a property portfolio in a changing market. We're going to cover 3 secrets. The first secret is how to overcome glass ceilings, Ben.
Yep.
And make sure you're not one of those folks who stops. 73% of all property investors stop at 1. So they've done the hard yards, they've got over the line, and then all of a sudden they stopped at 1. I'm going to suggest you probably need 3 to 5 good ones for it to work. So we're going to cover that. Second thing we're going to cover is how to build a future-proofed portfolio, Ben, where you can still enjoy your lifestyle today. We're not asking you to scrimp and save to the point of no lifestyle, and how you actually do that.
Yeah, we're going to show you hidden money that you didn't necessarily realise you had in the family budget. And by recrafting your finances, we could potentially show you how to own 1 or more investment properties when you think, well, I'm not in a position to do anything. So that hidden...
Is that possible, Ben? The family budget's already under pressure.
It is. I'll show it to you.
We'll cover that. And the third thing we're going to do is we are going to show you the one thing, Ben, that you need to know so that you can avoid all the negative market noise forever. So there's those three things and much, much more. It's called the 7 deadly sins of building a property portfolio in a changing market. We'd love for you to join us. Click on the link below. We'll have it across the screen where you can come and join us, Ben. But there is a catch.
Well, Bryce, these webinars are popular, and often our system can't handle everyone going on there. So we get the most we can possibly get, but even then we tap out. So people who register early and who turn up early can guarantee themselves there. The bandwidth of these webinar platforms can only allow 1,000 people, right? That's a big number, but I'm telling you, we get bigger numbers. We get more people who don't get the ability to turn up. So it is absolutely critical that you get along and turn up.
Ben beat me to it, folks. That was the catch I was talking about. It's free, great content. You'll love everything about it. You just got to make sure you register. You've got to make sure you turn up. So there will be a link here at the bottom of the screen. So go to that link or simply click on the link below, and we'll see you next Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.